You have probably tried to budget at least once. You opened a spreadsheet, downloaded an app, labeled your categories, promised yourself this time would be different. And somewhere between week 2 and the first unexpected expense, it fell apart. You blamed yourself. But here is something most personal finance advice will not say out loud. You are not bad with money. Budgeting is. Not because you lack discipline, not because you do not try hard enough, not because you need better color coding or more aggressive notifications, because the tool itself was never designed for real life. Real life does not sit still for 31 equal days. It sends a broken alternator, a friend's wedding across the country, a Tuesday where cooking feels impossible, a price increase on the groceries you have bought the same way for 2 years, a birthday dinner that costs slightly more than you planned. And traditional budgeting treats every single one of those moments like a personal failure. You are not undisciplined. You are using a spreadsheet to fight real life. And real life always wins. The first thing to understand is that budgets are predictions. You sit down at the start of the month and guess how much you will spend on food, transport, fun, and everything in between. Then, reality disagrees. And because the budget was framed as a promise, every deviation feels like breaking it. The budget does not say, your sister visited and you bought extra food. That makes sense. The budget says, you went over, red cell, try harder next month. That is not a system. That is a guilt machine. And guilt is not a sustainable financial strategy. The second problem is what penny counting actually does to your brain. Every time you log a $4 coffee or a $6 convenience fee, you make a micro-judgment. Worth it? Not worth it? Should I feel bad? Multiply that by every single purchase in a month, and you are making hundreds of small financial decisions, often while tired, often while stressed, often while your phone is reminding you that you still have not replied to 3 texts. Decision fatigue is real. And when your brain gets tired, it stops deciding carefully and starts deciding emotionally. That is usually the moment the budget gets abandoned and the spending guilt spiral begins. So the answer is not to try harder. The answer is to stop counting pennies and start watching 3 numbers instead. Number 1, your must-haves: rent or mortgage, utilities, minimum debt payments, basic food, reliable transport to work. The things you cannot skip without serious consequences. Take your monthly take-home pay. If your must-haves eat more than half of it, the problem is not your coffee. It is not your streaming subscriptions. It is not your Friday takeout. The problem is structural, and no amount of penny counting fixes a structural problem. Number 2, your future money. This is the slice that moves before you can spend it. The moment your paycheck arrives, a percentage goes somewhere else. An emergency fund, a retirement account, a separate savings account you do not check before ordering dinner. Not a huge amount, maybe 5%, maybe $50. The amount matters far less than the automation. Because when the money moves before you see it, you do not need willpower to save. You do not need to make a good decision 43 times a month. You only need to set up the transfer once and let it run. That is the difference between a budget and an architecture. A budget asks you to be perfect every single day. An architecture works regardless of who you are on a tired Tuesday evening. And here is the part most advice skips. The automation is not just about saving more money. It is about removing guilt from the rest of your spending. When your future self has already been paid, whatever is left in your checking account is genuinely yours. You do not need to judge your coffee. You do not need to apologize for dinner with friends. You do not need to stare at your bank app, calculating whether this one purchase makes you irresponsible. The math was already handled before you opened the menu. That shift from constant self-judgment to paid in advance freedom is where the financial stress actually leaves your body. Number 3, the freedom gap. This is the most important number, and almost nobody talks about it. Your freedom gap is the distance between what you earn and what your life requires every month. If you bring home $4,000 and your must-haves plus minimum obligations sit at $3,800, your freedom gap is $200. That is not breathing room. That is one flat tire away from a credit card balance you cannot pay off. A small income with a wide gap feels calm. A large income with zero gap feels broke. And that gap does not grow by tracking every dollar. It grows by keeping your must-haves manageable, automating your future money before spending begins. and being thoughtful about what you allow to become a required monthly expense. That is it. 3 numbers, must-haves, future money, freedom gap, not 41 spreadsheet rows, not color-coded notifications, not guilt. So, here is the question people usually ask at this point. Do I still need to track my spending? You need to track 3 numbers, because those 3 numbers tell you everything that matters. If your must-haves are manageable, your future money is moving, and your freedom gap is growing, you are winning. If something is off, one of those numbers will show you exactly where. Everything else is noise, and noise is what burns people out. If you have been building budgets and watching them collapse, this is your permission to stop. Stop tracking every cent. Stop judging every purchase. Stop treating financial health like a test you keep failing. You were never the problem. You were using a tool designed for a version of life that does not exist. The version where nothing unexpected happens, where willpower is unlimited, where a red cell in a spreadsheet changes your behavior instead of making you feel shame and quietly close the app. Start with one automation. 5% of your paycheck into a separate account. Set it up today. It will feel too small to matter. Then watch the freedom gap grow. Coming up next, why frugal living feels like freedom.